Hi and welcome to Rainey Dewey's Art Spot. My name is Lorraine, my nickname is Rainey, and you can call me Rainey. If you've been here before, good to see you, and if you're new, well, welcome aboard. Today's video I'll be talking about what happens after you have a painting that doesn't come out the way that you hoped. If you watched my last video, I attempted to paint a portrait of my dog Tucker. And let's just say it didn't come out the way I envisioned in my head, or much like the photo reference, or much like Tucker. It was a dog, let's say that. It was a black dog. The truth is, I struggled through the whole thing, and I attempted to salvage it using all kinds of, techniques, and I threw charcoal, I added more water, I washed it off. I just did everything that I could think of, and it still was not a success in that it didn't look like my dog Tucker. So once I posted that video of my quote-unquote failure, that made things worse because my ego was a little bruised. And so on the heels of that disaster, I did become a little discouraged. I did pick up my pencil and I attempted a couple of small drawings, but I still felt discouraged. And that's when I remembered that creating art and staying steady and consistent is what it's all about. It's your head game. It's about your attitude. It's about keeping at it no matter what. It's about not giving up. I remember when I first started painting at an adult education class, oh man, I did go away discouraged that first night, and I remember telling the teacher that I didn't think that this was for me, and she said, she was encouraging about trying to continue on, and I did, and I'm grateful that I didn't quit, because if I had quit back then, I wouldn't have all of the joy that comes with the process of creating art. Now, it would be nice if they all came out just the way we hope they would, but creating art can be challenging, and sometimes it's hard, and that's one of the reasons why I posted my last video, was to show that every effort isn't a quote-unquote success. It may not always be what we hoped, but the truth is creating art can be hard and it can be challenging. It may come easy to some people, but I'm not one of those people who it comes really easy to. And so there are times when I do become a little discouraged, but I've learned over the years that I'll wallow for a few days and I'll use some garden project to escape, but at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing, and then once I realize that I'm doing my avoidance strategy, I drop back and I sit back down and I get back to the drawing board and start all over again. To just do my best work. And so that's where I am now. I sat down at the drawing board and I thought, well, let me lean on a landscape. They are more forgiving, but this subject is still a little challenging for me in that I don't do reflections in the water very often. So this little piece is from a photograph I took while I was up in the Adirondacks. And so you saw that I started with a very light pencil sketch. I used a 2H pencil. I use a 2H pencil because it can be dark enough, but there's not a lot of residual graphite that will remain on the paper once you get painting on it. You can still see some of the lines of the grasses. Once I get my intense colors all laid in, you won't see the pencil lines. And now the surface of the paper is mostly dry, so I will create small controlled washes in certain areas. You'll see I apply some clear water and then I'll add my colors on top of it. That's called glazing, when you have one color that's dry and then you add another color over the top, and it gives a nice interesting glow. What I do is I start with my light colors. If I had white that I would want to save, I paint around it. You can see where the water, the reflection is supposed to be. I've painted around it. Essentially what I'm doing here is I'm painting my middle values, and then I'm building and bringing in my darker values. And really the goal is, if you have a photograph that you're working from, you can lean on that. Sometimes you'll need to make some changes so that you have an interesting value pattern. So what does that mean exactly? Your value pattern is your arrangement of your darks and your lights on your canvas or paper in order to guide the viewer's eye through your piece of artwork. And so it's really just an arrangement of your darks and your lights. I think over time you'll develop an instinct of knowing what works and what doesn't, and that's where doing a value sketch, just a little tiny thumbnail sketch of what you're going to paint in advance, will give you some guidance and help you simplify your subject. So if you're anything like me, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'll stop with the words and just let you watch. If you have any questions about any of the things that you've seen here or any of the things I've said, please be sure to leave a comment or send me an email. If you've got any work that you'd like to share, I'd love to see it. I'd love to hear about it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by Rainey Dewey's Art Spot, and happy painting.
sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Oh, you and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.